What's up, guys? Welcome back to Shifting Lanes. My name is Gregson. Thanks for tuning in. That is my 2005 Volvo V70R that we have tuned to 450 horsepower. I love this car. It is my favorite car of all time, but it is not without flaws. So we're gonna get to the 5 things that I hate about this car today. Let's go. So if you're new to the channel, thank you so much for tuning in. And if you like what you see, hit the big red subscribe button, give it a thumbs up, and turn that bell on so every time we make a video, you know and you'll be notified, and you'll never miss another video by us here at Shifting Lanes from me, Chad, or Hanson. So as I said, that's my favorite car ever that I've ever owned. It's my 2005 Volvo V70R. If you're watching this video, there's a good chance you know it, and there's a good chance you know how much I love it. I've made so many videos on my reactions and why I love this car, but there are a lot of things I don't like about this car. And I made this video about our old gray one more than 2 years ago. So I thought it would be a good time, since I just made the 5 reasons why I love my car and I would never sell it, to make a 5 reasons why I hate it, because fair is fair. So I can make the first 3 cases for why I hate this car sitting right here. So I'm gonna turn the camera around, show you exactly what I'm talking about, and then we'll get on the road and I'll tell you the last 2. So as you can probably tell, we've done some work to this thing. There's new wheels. It came with lowered suspension. It's on BC Racing coilovers, soon to be KWs. But we've done a lot to this car. Underneath the hood, which I'll open in a minute, which is actually part 2 of this, underneath the hood we have a T5 inline 5-cylinder engine producing 450 horsepower at the crank and roughly 410 to 420 foot-pounds of torque. So this thing moves. It's awesome. It has a manual transmission. The car is fantastic. It is the consummate dad wagon. Unless you take these wheels off and put the regular wheels on, you'd never know that this thing has any kind of performance at all. And I love that sleeper mode in this car. It's really, really cool. But to get to that point, this is the first thing I hate. These cars they're moddable. You can mod them, you can have an intake, you can have all this, that, and the other thing. But the problem is, it costs a lot of money to make these things that actually have a lot of power. You have to have a sleeved block or a shimmed block. You have to have a big turbo upgrade. You have to do an intercooler, an intake, and all the regular stuff you would do to make a car a lot faster. But the problem is, you have to do a lot of that, and the budget on these things is not cheap. If you were to do the same thing to a Civic, it would probably be half or a third of the price that you would pay to modify this thing. So that's the first thing I hate about this car, is you can modify them and they're super fun to modify and they sound amazing, but it takes a lot of money to do that. And anyone telling you otherwise is just wrong, because if you put suspension on it, if you do block shim, if you do sleeves, if you do intercooler, intake, tune, this, that, it gets to be up there. You could easily spend $10, $15, $20,000 on modding this car and it still won't be perfect. So just keep that in mind. If you do get into these cars and are watching this video, it's gonna take a pretty penny to modify it. And that leads me to my second one. So let's pop the engine and I'll get you to the second thing that I hate about this car. There she is. Feast your eyes. 5-cylinder glory. This is a really cool engine. It is a transversely mounted 5-cylinder engine with a big ol' intake, big intercooler. It's just a cool car. It's a cool engine. Has, you know, a quirky engine mount up here. It's just neat. I really like it. I think it's cool. But there's an inherent problem with these engines that if you're in this community, you know about, and you know about this completely. It is that this engine cracks its cylinder walls. And some people have actually cracked the cylinder walls with no tuning on a stock tune normal. What happened was, between each cylinder there's a tiny little gap, and I'll throw up a picture of it right here. That tiny little gap makes this engine prone to cylinder wall cracking, and that basically leads it to just not being that reliable in that sense. I mean, you can tune these things, yeah, and that's great, but you have to put a little shim, which is a little metal piece between each one, to make sure that the gap in between each cylinder is filled. Because if it's not, there's a good, well, not a good chance, but there is a chance that the cylinders could crack, the cylinder walls could crack, and then you're just gonna have a bad time because you need a new engine at that point. But yeah, the second thing I hate about this is that, you know, Volvo has this, you know, aura of being super reliable. Well, these white block engines, the 2.5 cylinders and the R's specifically, the 2.4s are way more reliable, and the 2.3s, but the 2.4s are way more reliable. The 2.5s, they bored them out too thin on the cylinder walls, and they just just aren't that reliable. Some people, I mean, most people have no problems with it, but it's just an inherent design flaw. I wish Volvo would have thought about it. I hate that about the design of this thing. It sounds glorious and it is a fixable problem, but I wish they would have put a little bit more thought into it when they originally designed it. Maybe even just put a 2.4 in here and made a better, you know, better call on the engine. So that's the second thing I hate about this, is it's just not a well-designed bore for, you know, for the engine, the 2.5. So you have to, or not have to, but I recommend you shim the blocks on these things, or even get a fully sleeved block. Again, going back to it costs a lot of money to modify these things to make this thing a little bit more bulletproof. Third thing that I hate about these cars, and I did tell you that I could do 3 while just standing here, is the quality, the overall quality of this car. It's not great. And most of these cars, if you look at them, the overall quality isn't great. Now, when I say overall quality, I'm talking about, like, there's paint chipping off, which could happen with any other car. But if you come around this side, this fender has not been resprayed, and there's some overall just rust happening. Yes, it's a 15-year-old car, I get it, but I've seen 15-year-old cars that are in way better shape and kept in way better condition. Now, I've made a lot of upgrades to this thing to make it better. I have new lenses, new headlights, I repainted this bumper. It's in, really a state of disrepair, and I need to redo it, but the bumper's been repainted. There's a lot of like burn marks from when we cut through the paint, unfortunately. This this is corrosion that's been repainted over. The interior, just, I had these things re-dyed and it looks way better than it did, but the problem is this leather is not good leather for automotive seats. You see, this is before I bought it. Someone restitched it, a previous owner restitched it or had it restitched, and it just is, it's not great. Like, we had to restitch this. This is overall just reblind stitch. This is coming apart again. It's just, the overall quality is not the best. And for when these cars were new, they were $45,000, $46,000. I think some crept them to $47,000, $48,000 with all the options. So yeah, it's just not that great of quality. Again, I understand it's a 15-year-old car, and I understand that, it's a modified car. Totally get it, guys. You don't have to talk about that in the comments, even though I'm sure you will. I just wish that there was a little bit better quality. If you look at red blocks that are 30 years old, there are some 30-year-old red blocks that are rust-free, that are in better condition than this thing, which is half the age. So yeah, I think that if you just redid the interior, got a fresh paint job, obviously that'd be a lot better, but I feel like that would be an even better quality of a job than what Volvo did from OEM. So yeah, number 3, overall quality of this car is not the best. Still an awesome car, and the quality is better than, your average, Kia would be after 15 years with a consumer that doesn't really care about cars at all. But as an enthusiast car, I think Volvo could have done a better job when they made this to get some better quality materials. The next thing I'll say is what I hate about this car, as I'm pulling out, is the turning radius. It is, well, it's probably the worst car I've ever seen as a turning radius. The way Volvo designed this thing, they never redesigned how the car should turn at full lock from the original cars. So the original V70s, it's designed for a front wheel drive, but it has the turning radius of an all-wheel drive, and it could have been redone. There are all-wheel drive cars that are much better than this thing. A 3-point turn in this thing turns into a 5 or even sometimes a 7-point turn, and it's just not good. So fourth thing I hate about this car is sort of how annoying it is to wield in tight spaces, because it's just not that good of a car for that. If you're looking for a city car, this ain't it, guys. Guys, I don't know, I think I'm changing my mind. I love the blue on the Volvo, but the Jerez blue, this is actually a really dark blue, and since I cleaned it, you can see me in the reflection, this blue looks so good. It looks black in this garage, but man, I think the blue twins look good. I was gonna wrap that thing, but I don't know if I should, or maybe I should wrap both of them. Anyway, the whole reason I'm here is this guy right here. So let's open it up. Now all we got to do is check what kind of injectors we got here, because the whole reason why this thing is not legal, rejected, is because this thing has a glorious supercharger on it. Let's turn this light around. Boom, there she is. Beautiful ESS supercharger that is filthy. I gotta detail this engine bay along with that one because it's super dirty, but you can see right down in here is the fuel rail. Now it looks like we have blue injectors. They said it would either be red, white, or blue. Right down in here, you can see right at the fuel rail, we got a blue injector right there. I don't know if it's coming out on the camera, maybe on this side. Oh yeah, there we go. Boom. Blue injectors. Perfect. They said it would be red, white, or blue, like I said. So now we can send that off and we can get the emissions map, we put it on, and we go get this thing legal. So within the next week or two, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna have a fully legal M3 for the first time in 6 months. I can drive this thing legally. Oh, I'm so stoked. And this thing's been legal and I love it. And man, there's the garage right there. V70R or M3. Leave it in the comments which one you would take. I know it's gonna mostly be Volvo because you guys follow us for Volvo stuff, but if you could have one of these cars, would you pick V70R or would you pick E90 M3 with a supercharger? Let me hear it. The last reason why I hate these cars, well, I hate my car, is that this is it. They don't make these anymore. I hate the fact that Volvo doesn't make a super hot an R version of a wagon. And yeah, they have the V60 Polestar. Yes, it's got hybrid drive and supercharging and all this like cool stuff, but to be 100% honest, I really wish they still made a 5-cylinder hot version of the V7 or the V70 or even the V60 as it stands now. I mean, ooh, listen to that. Oh. But yeah, I really wish Volvo made like a hotter wagon. Like, yeah, if you scale it up, the V60 from this generation or from the new generation, yeah, it's like it's the equivalent of this thing, but I don't feel like there's the same soul to it. This car, this engine has a soul, and I hate that Volvo doesn't make that anymore. I need to get into a V60 and drive it, because from what people tell me, it's a very good, competent, awesome car, and I've sat in one and they're really comfortable. They're super elegant. The design is one of the best looking wagons of all time. It is in the top 3. The new V60 wagon, it's in the top 3 for all time best looking wagons. But it doesn't have a 5-cylinder, which I feel there's just no substitute for that, guys. There really isn't. So I hate that Volvo doesn't make this anymore. I really wish they still did. And that's it. Those are the 5 things that I hate about this car, is that it doesn't exist. So guys, I'm back home. I parked up the V70R, and yeah, those are my 5 reasons why I really hate this car. It doesn't exist anymore. It's expensive to modify. There are inherent problems with it, like quality, bad engine design, and yeah, the turning radius is just really, really crappy. But do you have something that you hate about this car or these cars or other stuff? Leave it in the comments. I want to hear what you guys have to say, and maybe I'll make a follow-up video about what you guys dislike about Volvos in general. And no, not all of them are worth $500. Some of them are worth far, far more than that. That'll do it for today's video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, just give it a thumbs up. That really helps us out, and hit the subscribe button. That helps us out too. And if you want to follow us on Facebook or Instagram, it is @ShiftingLanes on both places. We post these videos 1 to 2 weeks after we put them out on YouTube. So if you can't catch them on YouTube, you can catch them there. And you'll find stuff that we never post here on YouTube on both of those places. My name is Gregson. That'll do it. And thanks for watching. See ya.